Welcome to the Thrive by Design podcast, the show dedicated to helping parents navigate the ups and downs of raising children while building a thriving family life. With a background in educational psychology, years of experience as a teacher and principal, and a dedicated parent coach and mentor, Ben brings you practical insights, heartfelt advice, and real-life stories to help you face everyday parenting challenges with confidence and purpose. Whether you're looking to connect more deeply with your kids, support their academic success, nurture their emotional well-being, or simply find moments of peace in the chaos, this podcast is here to guide you. Now, here's your host, Ben McCarthy.
Hi everyone, and thanks for listening to this week's podcast. This week we're looking at navigating back to school anxiety. As a past teacher and a past principal, I've seen it all. Tears at the school gate, reluctant parents sneaking one last peek into the classroom, and yes, even my own children facing their first day jitters. This topic is near to my heart because it's something every parent will likely encounter at some point. The good news, most of this anxiety is completely normal, but sometimes it goes beyond the typical nerves and calls for extra attention or professional help. So let's break it all down. What we're going to look at is what is normal, what is not, and how you can support your child with faith, love, and practical tools. Let's start by talking about normal anxiety, what it is and why it happens. For most kids, back-to-school anxiety is a natural reaction to change. It's a fear of the unknown, the new teacher, the new classroom, or even just the thought of leaving the comfort of home. These feelings are especially common after the long holiday, when life was all about family time, late mornings, and the freedom to play all day. During the first week of school, many kids are riding on a mix of nerves and excitement. They're curious about their new surroundings and eager to see their friends again. But guys, here's the kicker. The second week can often be harder than the first. Why, you may ask? Because the initial excitement has worn off. The reality of early mornings, structured days, and homework has started to sink in. And to make things trickier, they've just experienced the weekend, a taste of the freedom that reminds them of the holidays. I've seen it time and time again. Kids who seemed fine in the first week suddenly struggle on Monday of week 2. They might say, "I don't want to go back to school," or cling to you a little tighter at the gate. This is normal. It's just their way of processing the transition from fun and comfort of home to the structured routine of school. So, how can you tell if your child's anxiety is within the normal range? Here are some typical signs. Younger kids may hold on to you at drop-off or ask for extra hugs. There's also those nervous questions. What if I don't make friends? Or what if the teacher's mean? Are common worries. There are also mild physical symptoms, tummy aches, or feeling jittery in the morning. And they also have some difficulty sleeping. A bit of restlessness before school days is to be expected. The good news is that these behaviors usually ease up as your child adjusts to their new routine. But let's talk about when anxiety goes beyond the normal first and second week of jitters. If your child's struggles persist or start to interfere with their daily life, it might be time to consider extra support. This is what I call anxiety that raises red flags. Signs of anxiety that may need psychological intervention. These things may be like persistent physical complaints, headaches, stomach aches, or fatigue that don't improve over time. The intense fear or refusal. If your child refuses to go to school, cries excessively, or panics every morning, it could be more than a typical nerves. Avoidant behaviors, not wanting to talk about school, avoiding home, work, or withdrawing from friends. Sleep disturbances, trouble falling asleep, or recurring nightmares about school. And then those emotional outbursts, frequent meltdowns, or excessive crying that seems out of proportion to the situation. If these symptoms sound familiar and don't improve after a few weeks, it's time to reach out for professional guidance. A qualified counselor or psychologist can provide tailored tools to help your child cope. Now, let me share a story from my own life to remind you that no one, no parent, or no child is immune to anxiety. As a principal, I've seen my fair share of meltdowns during the first week of school. But one memory stands out. It was the third day of my youngest of 3 children's grade 1 year. I sat back with a cup of coffee and I glanced at the security cameras and noticed a child stomping out of the classroom with what I could only describe as pure determination. I thought, who is this bold little protester? Then I realized it was my own child. There was my son making his dramatic exit from the classroom because, as he later informed me, school is just too long. It was an anxiety-driven moment that caught me completely off guard. And let me tell you, as a principal, watching your own child's one-man rebellion is humbling, to say the least. What I learned that day is that anxiety doesn't care about titles or experience. It's universal. What matters is that we respond with grace, understanding, and faith. What I should have done that day is sit with him, listen to him, and reassure him before taking him back to class. However, he would probably tell you it didn't quite work out like that. So, what can you do to help your child through back-to-school anxiety? Here are practical steps for both normal jitters and more persistent anxiety. Talk it out. Start with open, honest conversations. Ask, what is worrying you about school? And listen without judgment. Validate their feelings with responses like, I can see that might feel scary. Ease back into routines. Reintroduce structure gradually. Shift bedtimes earlier. Set up a morning routine and plan meals together to bring some predictability back into their day. Empower them with tools. Teach simple coping skills like deep breathing, counting to 10, or even using small comfort items like a favorite keychain in their pocket. And if you wish, integrate faith. As a Christian family, prayer and scripture can be powerful tools. Encourage your child to pray about their worries and remind them of God's promises. One of my favorite verses to share is Philippians 4, verse 6 and 7. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God will guard your hearts and minds. And then lastly, if possible, create gradual exposure. If your child fears the unknown, help them face it in small steps. Visit the school. Try and meet the teacher before the year starts, or practice walking to their classroom. If you are seeing the red flags we discussed earlier, reach out for help. Whether it's a child psychologist, a counselor, or even a coach, support is available to you to guide you and your child. Parenting is never without its challenges, and back-to-school anxiety is one of those moments where we grow together as a family. Remember, every meltdown, every fear, and every triumph is a step in their journey of learning resilience and your journey of learning grace. If you are looking for a personalized support, I'd love to help. At You Thrive, I offer counseling, coaching, and mentoring tailored to parents like you. Visit www.youthrive.co.za to learn more and take the next step in helping your family thrive by design.
That's it for this episode of Thrive by Design. If this episode encouraged you, please share it with another parent who might need it. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast or Ben's newsletter for more parenting insights and inspiration. Remember, you're doing better than you think. God's got you, and together we can thrive by design.